Okay, this is task 2 for the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland Production, Technology and Management students in Year 1. As before, please work through the prescribed topics in showvector.com before attempting any of these tasks. Email the completed task to me for comment before continuing to the next task. So you should not be starting this task 2 unless you have already emailed me task 1 and I have said all is well, carry on. Okay, in this task I will be talking about viewports and sheet layers and scale, so you will need to have completed those sections in showvector.com before starting on this next task. So following on from the last task, or if you have saved it, excellent. If you haven't, you'll need to do all this again. Should have said that, never mind. This time we will be taking our letters and we'll be representing them on a virtual sheet of A3 paper. Because at the moment, that letter, if I took my little tape measure tool from here and measured it on the page, it's 3.5 meters high. So it'd be interesting to see the size of your letters because I didn't really specify what they would be. So this next step, the scale will be depending on how big you drew your letters. So it should be useful to see how you can work out the best scale to show your letters on the sheet of A3. So the sheet of A3 is called a sheet layer. So there's down in the bottom right hand here we have classes, which you will know about being through ShowVector. You have design layers and we have sheet layers here. So I can double click in there to make a new sheet layer. Sorry, control click in there. It depends on whether you're on PC or Mac. So control click on there for a Mac to do a new sheet layer. You can also go to Tools Organization and do the same thing in there. Sheet number 1, sheet title will be, you can call it what you like, it's just the name of the and then we're going to need to edit the properties after creation. We're going to create a sheet layer, but we haven't told the sheet layer which will be our virtual piece of paper, whether it's an A1, A2, A3, A4, so we need to do that in the edit properties of the sheet layer next. So there is the sheet number that we defined before, the sheet title, the rendering, the DPI. This isn't important just now because it's just a line drawing, but when you come to do renderings and you want to show a nice render on your page, you probably need to up the DPI, the dots per inch. Print quality is around about 300, I think, so you need to do that for photorealistic kind of renderings, but at the moment just leave this exactly as it is at the moment. Page setup is the area that we need to go to because we need to define the printer area, the sheet layer size. So I am going to choose one printer page here. It's always best to leave the printer to define the printer I've got attached to my computer at home won't do A3, so I'm going to have to choose A3 here. So what I was saying there is if your printer is capable of doing A3, then leave that on one printer page, or if it's capable of doing A2, A1, leave that if you can on one printer page and let the printer define the size of the sheet layer. If your printer, like the one I've got here, isn't capable of doing anything more than the 4 on this one, and I need to make a sheet layer bigger, then at that point choose a bigger size here. Okay, so okay there, and there's our sheet layer. So we've all automatically pinged into the sheet layer. You can see that on my sheet layer tab down here I have sheet 1 and the sheet title Steve. So that's all good. I've made that. I go back, so there's my design layers, and I need to put a little tick next to the design layer to make that active, and we're back into the design layer where my letters sit. At this point I need to create something called a viewport. I need to view those letters at a scale and place them on the sheet layer. So view, create viewport down here, and don't think we want that. We can, I think what we will do is we will draw a rectangle around that and then go view, create viewport, so that the selected object may be used as a viewport's crop. So I'm going to say yes. So that was just me defining the things I want to see in the viewport. Kind of leave, I would leave all this, unclick the drawing label, maybe unclick that as well, unclick the name the viewport, drawing number, sheet number. You don't really need to know. If you don't touch anything here, you'll be absolutely fine. We will need to do things later on when we come to more complicated things, but at the moment I would just unclick the general settings, the viewport and the drawing label. If you don't, it doesn't really matter, but it's best to do it. I think it makes it cleaner. And we say OK, and that's just, oh, by pure luck, that's just placed my letters, Steve, on the sheet layer. I didn't pay attention to the scale, or I didn't note it back there, because we can alter it here in the object info. So with the viewport selected, I can see that the scale is a 1 to 50. So that kind of just by pure chance works for what I was doing in the letters which I drew. I could change that to 1 to 20, and you can see the viewport is too big, or the scale is too big for the sheet of A3. So you can just quite easily 1 to 50 it was, I think it was, yeah, and 1 to 50 works absolutely fine for what we're doing here. So make sure your viewport sits within the boundary of the sheet layer, the A3 sheet layer that you made. We're going to dimension these letters because that's all well and good. You could measure those letters with a scale ruler off the A3 page if you sent it as a printout or as a PDF, but we're going to dimension the letters. The next step is critically important and will be the reason I will send some of your tasks back to you with notes, is if you don't follow this next step. You must double click on the viewport and go into annotations in order to dimension the letters. Because we're in the viewport, we are in a scale, which was 1 to 50, remember. So any dimension that we take understands that that letter is at a scale of 1 to 50. So I'm using the constrained linear dimension tool here, the first mode here, which is just a single dimension, and I clicked, let's do it once more time, I clicked once at the start, once at the end, and I pulled the mouse away from the letter and then click again to define the distance. There is a chain dimension thing here, which you can kind of click again, double click to finish, to give you a chain dimension. And there's a baseline dimension here as well, which I'd like you to try using, which will give all dimensions from a specified point. So click to start, and then as we click each point, you know, that's really ugly. Not anything we would use in this kind of overlap like this. Try and keep your dimensions away from overlapping any letters. But you can see what was happening there, that from that first point to the second point was 600. From the first point to the second point I clicked was 1300. To the third point I clicked. So we're taking all the dimensions off a baseline, unlike the chain one, which was giving me the dimensions of each segment, if you like. That's linear. If you want to do angled stuff, there's an unconstrained linear dimension. So for the V here, we might want to kind of dimension down at the angle to see what the length of that is, because if I took it on the constrained dimension, we'd be measuring the vertical space, the vertical distance between the top and the bottom, and not the length of the line. You can see the difference there. So have a play with those dimensions. And make sure you are always dimensioning within the viewport. Just as an example, why not to do it, if I'm not in the viewport and I dimension exactly the same points that I dimensioned here, there, and pull it away, it is showing it as 50. I'm on the wrong tool. it's shown as 50. I'll go back to the click, 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 shown as 50 because that's the length of that line on an A3 piece of paper, not to scale. Multiply 50 by 50 and you get the 2500. That's how the scale works. So that's task 2. Use the letters that you made in task 1, dimension them, and send them back to me via email. If you have followed stuff on Show Vector and want to put a border and a title block and stuff in, brilliant. I'll be very impressed. But at the moment, I would rather you just dimensioning things properly within the viewport. Enjoy.